What's going on, guys? My name is Brad, aka iPod Memorizer 11, and today we're going to be talking about the PlayStation X that happened this past weekend. And before I start, I'd like to say a few things. I know there were a lot of other things that went on during PlayStation X, including a few game reveals and the competitive COD tournament, but in this commentary I'm going to be focusing on the competitive COD tournament that happened on Infinite Warfare. And also, I'd just like to note that The Last of Us 2, or The Last of Us Part 2, I should say, I'm definitely hyped for that, but I didn't really pay too much attention to the rest of the event. I was paying more attention to the competitive Call of Duty side, so if you're here to hear about a summary of the actual event, then this is probably not the place for you. Second, I'm probably going to be doing a few more commentaries after events. This is kind of like a post-event recap, and there were a lot of things to cover. So first off, I'm going to cover the announcements that they made in terms of the CWL. So a few of the things, including like a LAN League and some announced tournaments ahead of time. They have MLG Vegas, which is coming up in a couple weeks. They have MLG Anaheim, which is in the summer. MLG Atlanta, which is, I think, in February. And then they have the LAN League, which is starting up in April, which is featuring, I think, nine NA teams, I think six or seven EU teams, and then one APAC team, which is, it's a pretty good start for everyone in the Call of Duty community, because this is kind of what we wanted, but there's obviously been some backlash because the EU and APAC regions aren't getting enough exposure. And Rondez Fox, he already did a little commentary on this, so I'll link his video in the description, showing some problems with the potential LAN League. And so since that's already been done, I won't really talk about that very much. Alright, so we saw the first basically competitive tournament on Infinite Warfare, and keep in mind that I haven't played Infinite Warfare. I still haven't found time to pick it up and play it for myself, but I kind of know a thing or two already about Infinite Warfare, and this is just purely from a spectator standpoint. Obviously, people with more knowledge on me can refute this if they want. This is just my opinion, but so far, Infinite Warfare looks like a pretty solid game. It's only been out for a month now, so I'm expecting the meta to be somewhat different from between now and maybe later when MLG Vegas comes around, or even when like the LAN League starts. So the community has spoken, and Infinity Ward has been listening to us, and along with Activision. So basically, all it falls down to now is the Infinity Ward feedback and response, because we know how much they have kind of put in patches whenever things were broken. Like in Ghosts, they threw in a few patches and then they disappeared, and that's usually the common trend for an Infinity Ward. So I'm hoping that they change it up in the future, and they're actually going to listen to community responses and just fix things that are broken. So I've seen them on Reddit. They're obviously listening to us by taking out the weapon draft and a lot of other things like that. I'm hoping that they'll patch up weapons, which I'll get into a little bit later, but first off, let's talk about the weapon draft. So if you don't know what the weapon draft is, it's basically a team of 4, they have to draft a different weapon. So what we saw during the tournament was 3 OSAs and sometimes 4 OSAs, and there's usually like a K-bar or an NV4 mixed up in there, and that was because the weapon draft was taken out. But the weapon draft was supposed to remove this and make it so that every person had to use a different weapon, and it would be kind of strategic in that way. So you had to run a certain submachine gun or a certain assault rifle, something like that. But that was all scrapped before the tournament started, and I know a few pros tweeted that they didn't take out the weapon draft until like the day before the day of the tournament starting. So obviously pros have practiced a little bit more on the weapon draft instead of just practicing with like the best guns in the game, which currently is the OSA. But now that it's gone, there's a lot less there's a lot less startup time between games. Like The games went by pretty quickly compared to last year, where it took usually like 5 or so minutes to start up games because everybody had to switch classes. They had to go through ban and protect and specialist draft, but now we just have specialist draft, I'm pretty sure. And that's taking like 30 seconds at the most, and everybody's loaded into the lobby and we can go into the next game. So I think that's good. It's beneficial for us because I think a lot of people didn't really like the long wait times, and although I'm sad to see ban and protect go, I wouldn't think that it would fit very well in this game just with the current meta, because I think like submachine guns are a little underpowered. It's not really any perks that you can ban out, so it would come down to banning like the essential things like stun grenades or fletchet grenades. So yeah, I think it's good that it's out of this game. If the meta switches it up, maybe ban and protect will come back. I'm not entirely sure what Activision's response on that is. So anyways, we can talk about the tournament now. If you have not watched the tournament, FaZe ended up winning the tournament against Orbit 3-1. Orbit is a European team that features a couple of the second place winners from COD champs in Rated and Joe, if I'm correct. So honestly, Orbit looks like a very good team, and there was some Rated versus Clayster drama going on. I wasn't really too in the know on that, but it was basically Rated kind of going at Clayster for getting a little too hyped for Invitational tournament. Obviously, it's not really that big of a deal if he gets hyped for it. It's just Clayster. I've followed him since Black Ops 2, and he's pretty much always done that no matter what the tournament was, so I don't think it's that big of a deal. But what it came down to in the S&D game, the second map, they were up 4-1, and I think that was when they started shooting bodies, which is a form of taunting if you didn't know. And the team ended up clutching up, winning the S&D, and they ended up winning the next two maps after that and winning the event. So Clayster kind of got up and started going at it with Rated, and at the end of the game they didn't really bump fists, which was a really awkward moment for the rest of us. But I like the storylines. People wanted more storylines, so here they go. I'm not sure why they're complaining about it now. So yeah, we'll see what happens in MLG Vegas. I don't know if Orbit's going to be coming or not. I haven't really looked at which European teams are coming. I'm assuming they will be there, but they're going to have to go through open brackets, because I'm not sure why. They should have just started in bracket play like the rest of the North American teams, but I think they'll make it anyways. So anyways, next, E United. So if you did not watch their games, they almost pulled back the impossible, and they were down 5-0. I think it was against Rise Nation, I want to say. And they came back, they brought it to 5-5, and they ended up losing in the overtime, or the round 11. And the only other team that I can think of that did that was Complexity back in Black Ops 2. And to think that E United, which was a team that did not have a very stellar record in Black Ops 3, was about to do something that's arguably the best Call of Duty team in history did, was pretty good achievements. But otherwise, they had a decent performance. They were actually winning maps compared to last year, where they were they consistently placed in tournaments, but they weren't doing well at them. They never really won games during that. So it was nice to see them actually win something, or at least win a game against someone. I'm hoping that they'll practice in the future. Pac-Man can actually snipe, which is really odd to see. I love the guy, but I don't know. To me, he just seems kind of average, so I'm hoping he'll do something with this E United team. We'll just have to see in the future. And Evil Geniuses, well, I'm a little disappointed in Evil Geniuses. I kind of expected them to do better because they have Havoc and Nagafin, which are two S&D stars, and the problem I'm seeing here is that they don't have enough slaying power, really. Like, the only real slayer that I can see is Study and maybe Havoc. Havoc has the potential to go off in tournaments, but really there's no strong Slayer on the team. Like before on Elevate, when which Nagafin was on, he had Aqua, which was doing heavy slaying, Felony, which was slaying with the sub. But on his new Evil Geniuses team, I don't really see that clear slaying power. So hopefully, I'm hoping they'll figure that out. I don't think that this team is too worrying. I think they'll do all right at Vegas, but once they get the practice down, I'm hoping that they'll switch up their gun game now that the weapon draft is removed. I know Nameless put on Twitter that he wasn't aware of the weapon draft being removed, so I don't know if that threw off their game or not, or if it was just an excuse, but we'll just have to see. MLG Vegas is the true testing thing for a lot of these teams. And then the last teams I want to talk about are Rise and Luminosity. It was kind of disappointing. I was especially looking for Rise to do something pretty good, and I'm a little disappointed, but honestly, I think they'll still do well once Vegas comes up. Luminosity, the same thing, losing to a hot Orbit team, which they have this, like, two of the second place people from COD Champs, so I think Orbit's a little better, but I think Luminosity definitely has, like, the raw power that they have because Saints is a very good player, and I think dropping Looney for Saints was a pretty decent idea. They have a little more slaying power, and they have the core three who in Octane Select and Classic, so they have the team chemistry there. They just have to add on Saints, so I don't think it's that big of a deal. So anyways, last topic for today, I'm going to talk a little bit about the Infinite Warfare setup and the meta. So PlayStation X, it was an invitational tournament, so it was only a $20,000 payout, which was part of the reason why Optic Gaming didn't join. And if you did not hear about this, Optic declined the invitation for this event because 20,000 prize pool is too low, and they thought that accepting the invitation was just a way of saying that they're okay with prize pools like that, which I can understand. I don't think this will be the standard, though. It's basically just like exhibition tournament for the whole entire event. So I don't think that it's going to be the standard because we already have our events planned out in LG Vegas, Anaheim, etc., and I think those will be a lot higher payouts. I don't know about the smaller tournaments in between, like UMGs or like a UGC Niagara or whatever local tournaments there will be, but the big ones, I think they'll have a lot higher payouts, so I don't think that'll be too worrying. $20,000, it was just an exhibition match to showcase what Infinite Warfare competitive would be. So hopefully the payouts will be larger in the future. MLG Vegas, I keep going back to this point, but it's 2 weeks around the corner, so I have to talk about it. I have to include it somewhere since it's just so close, but it's a 100K payout, and they also have sold out team passes, so it's a good start. It's one of the biggest tournaments that we've had so far, and we can only go up from there because our prize pools are increasing and our exposure to normal esports fans is increasing as well, so it can only go up from here. I don't think $20,000 will be the norm. So game-wise, so the Codcaster, they definitely changed up the Codcaster between now and when they did the little showcasing when the game was freshly released. They made it more geared towards like the Black Ops 3 style. They had like the mini map already on the viewer, and then they had player cams. You could see what specialists they had, and they added a few more things, which I think, in my opinion, are improvements, like the notifications that someone scored, like a dunk, an uplink, or a new hardpoint switch, or someone was on a kill streak. And they also added health bars, which I know are already on the characters in-game, but they added health bars on the character you were watching in the viewer, in the Codcaster viewers. So I think those are pretty good improvements. There might be some things that they have to improve upon, just some text fixes maybe, I don't know. My opinion of the notification thing, it just looked a little clunky. I know it's just supposed to be something that the viewer can easily see, but I don't know, it's just personal preference. And yeah, I don't think it's that big of a deal. It's just my personal preference on it. And as for the meta, so now that the weapon draft is removed, the OSA, which I think is the classic weapon, the ARX from Ghost, it's by far the best gun in the game. And I'm expecting a nerf of it eventually. I don't think that Infinity Ward would allow the OSA to become dominant like the Vector did in Ghosts, and we would only have like a 1 or 2 gun meta for the entire year, because that's honestly boring. And I personally think that the gun meta should be shaken up, because we go from Black Ops 3 where you can use probably like 3 to 4 different guns and still be pretty competitive. You had like the VMP, the MAs, the Man of War, the HVK, etc., etc. But in this game, you basically have the OSA, the K-Bar, and maybe the NV4. Those were basically the only weapons I saw, and a little bit of longbow and SD, but I'm not really counting that. I'm talking more about respawn game modes. So basically the current meta right now is the OSA, which has a bunch of attachments on it. They spam Fletcher grenades on like a hard point or on like the drone spawn uplink, and they just rip people apart with the OSA. And honestly, that's not very fun. I don't think that's very exciting for the viewers. So I'm hoping they switch that up soon. I know there's supposed to be a patch incoming. I'm not sure if it's in place yet. I haven't really been paying attention too much to that. And not also the gun meta, but I would also like to talk about the perk meta. This has been talked about before early on in the game, but I noticed a lot during the events that there were usually a maximum of 3 perks being run, which would be Flakjack, Attack Mask, and Dead Silence. And I know that the perks aren't really viable, and I'm not sure how much Infinity Ward would be able to switch them up, but in Black Ops 3 there was a lot of variety in it. Like, you had to switch between Afterburner and Flakjack. Sometimes you have to throw on Hardwired if EMPs were being used. There was a trade-off between Dead Silence, Attack Mask, and Blast Suppressor. So there was some variety in that, and also with the Ban and Protect you could ban out perks, like a common ban was Afterburner. But in this game, there's no real perk switch-offs. Like, you could easily just run the best perks in the game, and you still have tons of room for your attachments and grenades, which is why we are seeing a lot more of the Fletcher grenades spam on like hills and stuff. So I don't know how much Infinity Ward would like to do about that. I haven't seen a perk meta switch up ever, so I'm not entirely sure how that would work out, but it's something to talk about, obviously. So as for the game-wise, there's not too much to say. Hardpoint spawns, they obviously need tweaking. This was talked about extensively on the competitive COD subreddit. Not much to be said there. I'm hoping Infinity Ward fixes that before Vegas, because a lot of the hardpoints were just people having to kill people that were coming into the hardpoint and then turn around and kill them again. And yeah, it's not that competitive, but I'm hoping that the spawns will be fixed so that they make a lot more sense and there's actual strategy involved in hardpoint. And also I'd like to talk about the respawn delay. Respawn delay I think is good. I'm not sure how good it will be after spawns will be fixed so that they're actual proper spawns. The maps are a bit smaller than Black Ops 3, which is why I think they put it in the first place. It's kind of like Advanced Warfare. It was just to artificially slow down the game a little. So I think it's a good change for now, because the main strategy is usually to flood hills, and as long as you throw enough shit at the fan, eventually some of it will stick mentality. So I think 2.5 second respawn delay is a good idea to slow that down a little. And I know we saw a little bit of that anyways, but oh well. I think it's there to stay, and once spawns will be fixed so that they're further away from the current hardpoint. If you get pushed out and you spawn in one specific area, I think it'll be a lot better. Hardpoint will be a lot more fun to watch. And as for uplink, not much to say on that. I think uplink looks pretty good. There should be more 15-second respawn points. Like, you should be able to throw it on top of a building and having it land there for a 15-second reset, because I don't think I saw a single one that was passed off, and I know that the maps aren't really designed for that. So I'm hoping Infinity Ward adds those, just adds another competitive aspect that should be there in the game in general. Like in the last 2 games, we've had those types of things. So instead of throwing it out and having to push for the drone spawn, you can toss it off the map and then fight for control without having to worry about the drone. Just minor things. I know this is the first tournament of the year, so there's room for improvement, and I'm hoping Infinity Ward capitalizes on this and attends to our needs as a competitive community. So anyways, guys, that's it. I hope you enjoyed it. I'm planning on doing more of these post-event recaps as they start pouring in, so if you have anything to say, any improvements, anything I should talk on, just let me know in the comments down below. So anyways, guys, leave a like if you enjoyed it, and I'll see you guys later. Peace out.